Hello everyone and welcome to the big game. I'm Carson Fryou alongside my good friend Mackenzie Fletcher, and tonight we'll look ahead to see how the Southeastern men's and women's basketball teams are preparing for the upcoming season.
We'll also take a look at all the teams competing for a World Series in this year's postseason.
But first, let's see if the Southeastern football team could snap their 6-game losing streak and pick up their first win of the season. The Southeastern football team hosted the Lamar Cardinals for homecoming week and faced an early deficit, being down 20 points heading into halftime. The Lions struck first coming out of the locker room, and with the Southeastern defense shutting out the Cardinal defense in the second half, it wasn't enough to complete the comeback as the Lions fall to 0-7, their worst start since 1971. And head coach Frank Selfo feels the constant mistakes are keeping the Lions from success.
You know, when you've turned the ball over 4 times, one of them for a touchdown, you have a 4th down stop on a busted sack, you have missed opportunities to get a touchdown call back because of holding. We got another guy wide open down the field, miss him, can't connect, and you know, so you look back. I was really proud of the guys the way we played, especially the second half defensively. But again, our guys played hard. I was pleased with their efforts. We just made too many mistakes, and you're just not going to win games like that.
Coming off the best season in program history, the Lady Lions basketball team has been picked to finish first in the preseason polls this year, and Big Game reporter Brendan Smith has more on the upcoming Lady Lions season.
Last week at the Coushatta Casino Resort in Kinder, Louisiana, the Southeastern women's basketball season unofficially tipped off with Southland Conference Media Day. During the panels, it was revealed that the Lady Lions were picked to win the Southland Conference, and the reason why is very clear.
But your ring is even brighter.
Stop it.
So can we please get a look at this?
Oh, yeah. They deserve it. I just have to wear it.
Hold it out now.
Oh, man.
You know that
Can we get a close-up?
Coming off their Southland Conference Championship and March Madness appearance, Southeastern received 15 of a total of 20 first-place votes. And with preseason team selections in Haley Giartano and Alexius Horn, they aren't looking to go anywhere.
Watching them practice every single day, the amount of effort and enthusiasm that they bring to the practice, they deserve it. You know, I'm excited to see throughout the year what they strive to do, but they work, and that's all we love.
Reporting for the Big Game, I'm Brendan Smith.
The Southeastern men's basketball team is less than a month away from tipping off from their 2023-24 season. The Lions were picked to finish first in the Southland Conference this season with 6 first-place votes in the preseason polls. Guard Roger McFarland was placed on the preseason all-conference first team, while Nick Caldwell and Alec Woodard made the preseason all-conference second team. The Lions start their season November 6th against Delta State in the University Center.
After finishing 25-25 and missing the Southland Conference tournament last season, the Lions baseball team is under new leadership with head coach Bobby Barbier. Barbier had a 7-year stint with the Northwestern State Demons, where he led the programs to its first Southland Conference title in 2018. And Coach Barbier is expecting to put an exciting product on the field for the community of Hammond.
We talk about that a bunch, is that you're all also playing in front of people that have never had a chance to watch you play before. Maybe it's a kid that's going to his first college baseball game, and what's the product that we're going to put on the field as a team and individually. You know, I'm a coach that have guys that enjoy playing a game, and that's to show in their play. And I think it'll be a product that the town can be proud of.
Coming up after the break, we'll have the latest postseason coverage and how the New Orleans Saints fared against the number 2 overall pick, C.J. Stroud. Don't go anywhere. The Big Game will be right back.
I am what hunger looks like in America. I am an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for the last day of school. Because this may be the last time I'll have lunch. Till September. I am a single father of 2 who works 3 part-time jobs, and that's still not enough to put food on the table. I am a 16-year-old boy who just got my first job to help feed my little sisters. I was created by artificial intelligence from faces of the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew they were hungry.
Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
History is not always something we can see or touch. What they encountered horrified them. One of the most diabolical crimes in Louisiana history.
There's no way this is real.
Coming off a dominant win against the Patriots, the New Orleans Saints traveled to NRG Stadium to face off against C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. The Saints had their struggles defensively in the first half, giving up 17 points, but only allowed 3 points after halftime. Offensively, the same mistakes continue to hurt New Orleans. Even though quarterback Derek Carr finished the game with 353 yards through the air, 2 missed field goals and struggling to convert in the red zone continues to plague the Saints offense.
That's kind of been a little bit of our issue. I do feel like we've been able to move the ball effectively at times this season, and yet whether it be by a penalty, a negative yardage play, there's something that happens that keeps us from being able to score touchdowns down there, and that has to be cleaned up. It has to be better.
Turning to Major League Baseball, the American League Championship Series has gotten underway, with the Texas Rangers taking a 2-0 lead over the Houston Astros, backed by 2 quality starts from Nathan Eovaldi and Jordan Montgomery, who combined for 13.1 innings, 3 earned runs, 15 strikeouts, and 2 walks. The series now turns to Global Life Field tonight with first pitch at 7:03.
In the National League Championship Series, the Philadelphia Phillies take a commanding 2-0 lead over the Arizona Diamondbacks, with quality starts from Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola combined with offensive explosions from players like Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, and Trey Turner. Philadelphia put up 15 runs through 2 games. As the Phillies head to Arizona, only 2 wins away from their 9th World Series appearance in franchise history. Now we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to wrap this show up with some pick and roll. Don't go anywhere.
I can't do this.
So you see, son, good manners are important. Should I go through it again?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, excuse me, sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If the door's locked, knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't stare, don't use bad language, or talk with your mouth full. Keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. Cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give your seat up to anybody who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you want to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
Good talk.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
Welcome back to the big game. And now it's time for pick and roll. Now, Mackenzie, let's start off pick and roll with Lions football. They're preseason favorites to win the conference, but they're 0-7. They're near the bottom, probably the bottom of the conference. Now, Mackenzie, what do the Lions have to do to make sure they clean up their mistakes and at least win a game this season?
I think the biggest thing for the Lions have been their inconsistency. They've yet to find that consistency yet, and I mean, they're 0-7. We're heading into week 8, so they've got to find that consistently fast so they can at least get some wins in their record for this season and don't have a season without a win. The Lions are very capable of doing so. They do have a good amount of returners from last season's squad that was a part of the Southland Conference Championship team. I think they have the talent to do so. It's just they got to have that short-term memory. Mistakes, like Coach Selfo said earlier in the show, they've really been killing them and really been killing what this team has the potential for. I think if they have that short-term memory and they can find that consistency within themselves, that's going to help a lot. Also, we've seen guys like Maurice Massey. He's slowly making his way back into there. I think that could help the morale of this team a little bit, just having another receiver out there that Eli Sawyer or Zachary Clement can have that trust into. I think the more wide receivers they have in the room, the more that's going to help them out. Offensive line has been struggling a little bit, which has been helping for the quarterbacks to not have their best performances. But I think, like I said, they find that consistency. They're able to fix those mistakes. I think they could have a better end leg of their season.
And they have a matchup tomorrow night, actually, against Northwestern State. Can you tell us more about that matchup?
Yes, the Lions are going to have short-term memory playing Lamar on Saturday. They were supposed to play Northwestern State this upcoming Saturday, but sadly, after the tragic passing of Northwestern State safety Ronnie Caldwell, the game was moved to Thursday. It's a very tragic situation. No one ever wants to go through that. You don't want anyone to go through that, and especially in a conference like the Southland that is so close-knit where everyone knows everyone. You've had players on your team probably played for another team in the conference. So it's going to be a very emotional game for both teams. Southeastern has a couple guys that actually came in from Northwestern State, so the emotions are going to be high. This is the first game Northwestern State's playing after this tragedy. But their head coach, Laird, said, this is their safe haven. So I think for Northwestern State, they're also looking for their first win of the season along with the Lions. I think it's going to be a very good game to watch because they're on similar calibers at this point in the season. So I think it's going to both show that it's more than football sometimes, but it's also going to be a really good football game.
There's also another big football game tomorrow night as well. New Orleans Saints will play host to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that's a big matchup. And the same thing with the Southeastern Lions. The Saints had big expectations. They were about winning their conference and their division, They have all these star players, but they're not capitalizing with all these star players. Everyone's blaming quarterback Derek Carr, the offensive line, Pete Carmichael's play calling. What's the problem with the Saints, and what can they do to make sure they finish the season with the NFC South division title?
Like you mentioned, Carson, you mentioned some areas that they need to find improvement on. I think one big thing is going to have to be their penalties. That has really been hurting them so far this season. And when your offense is struggling like the Saints' offense has been struggling so far, you got to be careful with penalties. Right now, the Saints lead the league in offensive holding calls and defensive pass interference calls. Teams like the 49ers, the Chiefs, for example, they can lead the league in penalty calls like that because their offense is going to perform and they're going to get those yards back. The Saints at this point in the season are not doing that. So these penalties are killing them more than they should be. The offense, of course, needs to get their rhythm up, but they really need to be mindful of penalties as they're going forth. The Saints are only a game and a half away from the Bucs, but I think along with the offense finding their rhythm, if they keep it up with the penalties, it could really cost them this season.
They also need to make those plays on the offense as well because they are tiring out their defense. The Saints defense, I believe, is a top 3 in the league behind the 49ers and another team, the Eagles, But the Saints defense is getting worn out because the Saints offense keeps going 3 and out. They're just going off the field very quickly, and they're getting worn out. They blew a 17-0 lead against the Packers because the defense just kept getting worn out, and they allowed those big plays to Jordan Love. And if the Saints offense can make those plays and let their defense rest, then they can win the division. They can go long in the playoffs. And finally, let's talk about MLB. It's almost the World Series, all right? And now there's the NLCS and the ALCS series. The Rangers and the Astros, they've been going at it. Can you tell us more about that matchup?
Tonight, Game 3, both teams are headed back. They're in Globe Life Field tonight. I think one thing that people need to know is that the Astros are actually 6-1 when they play the Rangers in the Rangers' home field. I think that's something you don't necessarily hear all the time. You always hear home field advantage. But for the Rangers, that really hasn't been true so far when it comes to playing against the Astros. Tonight for the Rangers, we'll see Max Scherzer on the mound. This is his first start back since he was out with injury in September. The last time he played the Astros didn't have his best start. He's a very good pitcher, but struggled some. So I think it could go either ways. Scherzer could have a complete great game where he shoves and shuts out the Astros, or he could have a rusty start coming back, which if he does have a rusty start coming back, that could help the Astros a little bit, considering the fact that their lineup isn't necessarily doing everything they wanted to do. They are being very productive and everything, but when your top guy coming into the postseason, Kyle Tucker, is sitting at where he's sitting at right now with a .091 batting average and having to be bumped down to the 6th spot in the lineup, you got to worry a little. But then they have guys like Alvarez, McCormick, who are kind of stepping up. I think their lineup needs to step up a little bit more to keep going. They have Christian Javier on the mound for them tonight. He did well, has done well in the postseason, had an iffy start in the regular season. So I think one thing that's for sure of tonight's game is that it could honestly go either way. So it's going to be very interesting, but don't count out the Astros. A lot of people counted out the Astros earlier in the season because the Rangers were #1 spot for more than half the season. But the Astros came and they ended up winning the AL West division. So I think the Astros have a chance to win tonight especially, but I think people don't need to count them out yet. We're only in Game 3 of a 7-game series.
And the Phillies and the Diamondbacks have their Game 3 tomorrow night. I think the Phillies are going to take that series, but let's talk about the World Series. What's your opinion? Is it going to be who against the Phillies? Is it going to be the Astros or is it going to be the Rangers?
As much as I love a good come-from-behind story in the case of the Phillies and the Diamondbacks, I really think it's going to be the Phillies. I agree with you on that one. For the Astros and the Rangers, I think they are very two quality ball clubs that have both proven themselves, especially in this postseason. I think that the Astros are going to come back and surprise people. I think they have that in them. They've been here before. This is their 7th postseason. They know what they're doing. I think they need to find their rhythm a little bit, but I think they can make it. And then I think that World Series is going to be quite the World Series to watch, a rematch of last year's World Series. The Phillies team is just as good, if not a little bit better than they were last season. So I think if it ends up being the Astros and the Phillies, that is going to be a World Series to watch. The Phillies are going to be coming back for blood, and they're going to be trying to stop the Astros from being reigning World Series champs.
Well, let's see if our predictions are pulled off. And that'll do it for this episode of The Big Game. For more information on Lion Athletics, visit lionsports.net. And for more of us here at The Big Game, visit thesoutheasternchannel.com. So for Mackenzie, Fletcher, and our entire Big Game crew, I'm Carson Fryou, saying so long, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on The Big Game.